Look at that bad boy.
That was fancy. For those of you who are listening to us on and not watching us on YouTube, we have a whole new bright, shiny intro. That was pretty crazy. All righty. Hey, and welcome to the CRM Zen Show. This is episode 263. I just don't know what to do with myself. By the way, you should check out the new White Stripes version of that song. We're listening to it a minute ago. It's pretty darn good. And we are recording this show on Friday, August 11th, 2023. If you have never seen us before, well, hey, I'm Brett Martin, and right down there, that's Tyler Colt. And we've been doing this show for over 5 years now, and we're going on our 6th year, and here we are.
When you're having fun and talking about Zoho.
Well, that's a great way to kick off the second 5 years here with a brand new stinger intro like that. It's pretty groovy. Well, Tyler, we could sit here and chit-chat for a bit like we're prone to do, but you know what? You've got whatever it is that's sweeping the entire world right now. Your head's a little foggy. You're not feeling well. And we started off yesterday. We thought we had a light news day, and then boom, Zoho dropped about 20 pieces of news on us. We had to filter through those. So we've got a lot to talk about. So with that, let's get right on into announcements and events. As always, if you head over to our online community, that is Club Zenatta, club.zenatta.com. Head right on over there, scroll on down a little bit, and you will see all of the announcements and events that we have. We've got some interesting things coming up, Tyler. We are doing a deep dive into Zoho telephony. Ignore the last part of that. It's going to be just a deep dive into Zoho telephony. Not really utilizing Zoho voice. It's just all solutions and telephony. And we will be doing that, I believe, next Tuesday, August 15th. So we'd really love for you to tune in for that. That's 10 a.m. Pacific time, and always good stuff there. And then Zoho has got their own events. We keep track of all the events in the world of Zoho, whether they're from us or Zoho or other people. Although, any other people out there doing Zoho events, let us know, because we don't have any upcoming. So, but head on over to club.zenatta.com. Check out the events. Participate in our community. We've got a general discussion area. We've got a code share. We've got, things we've noticed in the world of Zoho. We keep track of all the Zoho news that we cover on this show on a daily basis. We're updating it there. You can get it ahead of time. 21 news stories since I last looked at this. You can ask any questions you've got for Azaz, which is Ask Zenatta, anything about Zoho. And we answer them on our weekly show that drops every Wednesday at 10 a.m. So there's just a lot. It just goes on and on. It's too much to keep track of. I'm losing my mind. With that, let's get right on into the news. All right, we got a couple creator news stories here, Tyler. So the first one is they are announcing all of their updates for August 2023. It looks like they got 4 big things: API version 2.1, custom sorting, grouping of records, enhanced navigation in forms, and QRM barcode scanning for PWAs. I don't know what a PWA is, but you're going to tell us.
Yeah, so looking through here, APIs, always nice to see new versions of those come out. So it looks like these are really more of an upgrade and improve to the V2 APIs that have been out for a while for Zoho Creator. Kind of struck me as crazy. We're moving on to version 5 in the CRM API. I would think we'd be higher up on the Creator side. Big updates here. The takeaways really on 2.1, increasing the number of records that can be queried at once via a script. So now essentially you're going to be able to handle up to 1,000 records when you do a search records or get records. That's up from 200, right? So pretty big increase there when you're writing those types of scripts where you're getting bulk amounts of data. As well, this is one that most of the time you don't need it, but it is really nice to have. They're giving you the ability to pass a parameter that says don't trigger workflows based on this update. Most of the time, if you're updating a status with a script and that should create a task, you want it to happen, but it's always nice to have the control, right? Essentially being able to say, hey, if this update happens with the script, then we don't need these tasks or emails or whatever those follow-on actions are. Next one here, interesting. They're saying we're reintroducing the custom sorting and grouping. I don't know if that was ever deprecated. I would have to check with Josh. But essentially, this is just an easier way to be able to sort and list out records in a report, right? So a little easier to group them up, filter them, do all those kind of things you want to do when you're looking at a
I
list
think
of
this
data.
answers your question, Tyler. They're reintroducing it because it's probably still in Creator 5.
So maybe it's rolling out 6. Yeah.
Putting it back into 6, I think. Yep.
Gotcha.
Yeah. Very cool.
Last one here, some advanced navigation. So you're actually able to now set up if a tab should go horizontally or vertically on the page. That's really nice. That's been in CRM for a little while. So again, just making things a little bit easier to, manage for users as they're flying through a form. Last but not least, it looks like PWA's Progressive Web Apps. That's their acronym there. Yeah. So essentially meaning that you are going to be able to implement QR and barcode scanning into that type of creator deployment.
WAS for a quaz. Fantastic. Yeah. And an exceptionally really cool creator news. If that wasn't cool enough, well, guess what? Zoho Creator is now getting a canvas builder. This is pretty cool. So we've done a lot of customization in Zoho Creator, and most of it is around HTML and CSS formatting. And it's all got to be done by hand, and it's all got to be hard-coded in. And it looks like they're kind of putting some of the stuff from CRM, the Canvas Builder and CRM, they're moving it over to Creator, and it looks pretty cool, Tyler.
Yeah, and I mean, this is a really cool step for them. I think just a couple weeks back, they had rolled out Canvas View for lists in Creator, was it? They kind of started, interestingly, on the list side. I could be mistaken there. But yeah, so this is actually going to allow us to design the record layouts in Creator using a very similar looking Canvas View to what we have over in CRM. I'm hoping longer term that these will also come for form views that are being used externally. I don't think that's included with this update. This would just be inside of the application itself. But, the big thing here is people use Creator for all different types of use cases. You can see if you're watching us on YouTube, some of their, examples, product listing pages, like maybe you're a real estate agent, you want to have a listing for a home, right? You want to have an invoice page, you want to have really any of these things. So really nice. I mean, more control is always better. One thing that's really cool about this is that you can do a lot of HTML and CSS in Creator on a page, where a page in Creator is a record, a form, a report. It's kind of a blend of multiple different things, but you couldn't really do a lot to change how that form would look, right? Or how that record would look. You could design all around it, but in that middle square box, it was going to look like a Creator record, and that's all you could do. So they're solving for that here in a pretty big way. So yeah, it's a nice update.
Super, super nice. A lot of brand. I mean, this is well thought out. If you're watching us on YouTube, it's a very, very, very long scroll. It's a long scroll as I'm kind of going through here. So be sure to, if you get our newsletter, there'll be a link to this article in there as well, or you can just head over to Zenatta.com, click on the CRM Zen Show, and we will have all the links there as well. So very cool. Creator team never rests. All right. And by the way, was that only in version 6? I need to check that out. I'm going to scroll down to the bottom here. But don't you love just Control-Shift-T when you accidentally close a tab? Doesn't say. Hopefully it's 5 and 6. If not, though, I have a feeling this is the thing that'll make everybody move, right?
Hopefully, yeah. They're definitely going to be dripping in some of those kind of, features that everyone wants, right? Kind of get people convinced to move over to Creator 6. People are oftentimes a little hesitant. I know the move from C4 to C5 was anything but smooth for a lot of people. So, yeah, they're going to have to sweeten the pot, I think, to get people moving over. I know on our side, Josh is kind of the perspective, hey, let's stay on Creator 5 as long as we can, because you just never know really what's going to happen when you move over.
All right, moving on with the news. Zoho Tasks is now Zoho To-Do. Consequently, the title of our show. That's it. Tasks is now To-Do. They've got a brand new, bright, shiny mobile app for it and a desktop app. I'm going to play with it. I hope it is good. I would just love some integrations is what I would love, you know?
Yeah.
To me, that would be...
It integrates, but it doesn't consolidate, right? Like it'll pull in your desk, your CRM, your projects, but they're all totally separate, right? And it's similar to the problem we used to have in Connect, right? Like, yeah, it integrates with all these tasking tools and it pulls them all in, but they're not really on one board with one set of statuses, which I do understand, right? Because you can have different statuses and all the apps where tasks come from, right?
Yep.
So maybe if they build a really robust API here, you can kind of point all the tasks to just get created here natively. Maybe that's kind of one of the long-term plays, but it is tricky, right? Because you kind of need, if you're really going to be a person who's cross-functional, you need all your tasks in one place, ideally in the same kind of Kanban view or list view.
Well, that's the problem. You got to match all that up. So there's got to be something. I mean, it's a big, big, big thing for these guys, which is why it hasn't been done, because every single application would have to have similar stages, and and they don't. So you'd have to go through, and there'd almost have to be an application that would go through and set up all your tasks historically and change them. But very, very cool. I will play with it. Hopefully, what I would just like is some, most I find of my tasks and most tasks that you end up doing, at least in our world, come from email. And a lot of people I talk to, it's just they got an email, they need to do something. And the best thing to do is just, click that email and make it a task, right? And so you've got the task and the email's linked to it. So by linking to Office 365, Zoho Mail, Gmail, those other things, it makes this app a lot more useful. I think it does link to Zoho Mail. Yes,
I think so. Yeah, it can pull in your tasks there.
Yeah, although they're not showing it on here, but I do like the view, the sorting view, the way it works. Kind of cool. So
it's not like Asana.
Yeah, very, very cool.
Which is a good thing.
Right.
I mean, people love it. So,
yep, nice job, task team, to-do team. They got a bright, shiny new logo too. It looks like. All right, you've got early access to some workflow enhancements in CRM. What do we got here?
Yeah, so they're calling these minor. I don't think these are minor. I think they should give themselves some credit. So these are 2 updates, one of which has been desperately needed for a long time. But these are essentially updates to how you can set up your triggers inside of your workflow and your criteria. So they've got 2 new options, basically source and previous value. Source is looking at how did this update occur? And so their example is maybe you have a workflow that triggers when a record is deleted, right? But maybe you only want that record to trigger if the workflow is deleted by the deduplication process, right? Or, deleted by the API, right? So you can now filter on like what was the source of the trigger that kicked off the workflow, which is, again, more control, better, right? More control on workflows is always going to be better. And then the big one is previous values. And this is one where maybe last week or the week prior, they released the timeline API for Zoho CRM. And I kind of talked about, we could do these cool things where, you can look at those. Well, even better, you can do it without having to touch Deluge at all. And this is the example where if a deal moves to closed one from stage A, we want to do this. If it moves to closed one from stage B, we want to do this other thing. And so you can essentially take in what the previous value of a field was that was updated to trigger the workflow. So that's a big one. When you get into like lead outbound prospecting, deal flow, like it's super relevant what that previous value was. Even like a long time ago, Brett, do you remember they wanted to do a call, an email, a text, a call, an email, a text. We had to do lots of weird stuff to make that work, where if we could just look at the previous value, it would be done, right? Without any craziness at all. So there's tons of use cases for that. Basically knowing where you were and using that to decide where to go next.
That was actually a call, an email, a test, and a face-to-face meeting, a lunch or something.
Yep. It was 4.
And the task had to be completed. You could not do until you had done all 4 over the course of 4 months or whatever it was. You couldn't repeat it. So, alrighty. So nice job there, CRM team. Moving on. You've got new views to manage activities within a record. These are not new views. They are putting back the old views, and then they added another view. So in Zoho CRM, used to have the activity views, and they made this crazy change, which they put things in columns. You couldn't easily, it was just ridiculous. You had to click. It just added so many clicks to try to close tasks out and things like that. And the open, it's not like a closed activity view, it was the open activity view, which was a real problem, right? Because you really just couldn't go run through and kind of click them all off. So you can now choose whether you would like it in a column view or you would like it in a chronological view, or whether or not you would like it in a tabbed view where you can scroll through. The chronological just gives you all of them, calls, meetings, and tasks together.
Chronological is always like used to be. Yeah, it was all just based on chronological. And the reality is,
this is if you hover, do you get the ability like you used to?
That's the big question, right? Do you get the little one click? Hopefully. But chronological makes a lot of sense. I mean, even if you look at the example they show here, like we have a meeting on the 14th and we have 2 tasks that are due before the 14th. Ideally, we get those done before the meeting, right? And so when you have them in those like columns, you can't see the order of operations between tasks and meetings, right? Whereas a lot of people, it's like I book a meeting and I set myself up a task the day before to like prepare for meeting, right? So just having those in a top to bottom view makes a whole lot of sense.
And this is the new view because they never had this before. What they had was, it's kind of similar to this tab view, but you actually had 3 separate related lists on the side. You had one called task, right? And calls. And they kind of all sat over on the side separately. Now they're all together as one in this open activities chronological views. Cool stuff. Good job. So it's kind of putting it back the way it was. I have a feeling there's a lot of complaints, but that's good. It looks like they rethought it and maybe made it a little better, huh?
Yeah. And now you can pick. If you love the column view that you have now, keep it. No big deal. But they're kind of just adding some of the old functionality back.
I mean, I'm going to judge you if you like that column view, you know?
Yeah, you're wrong if you like it, but it's okay to be wrong.
It's, I don't know. Is it? Anyway, all right. We got recent enhancements to Bigin. It's an enhancement. You can pay them money and send more emails directly out of Bigin. So this is an interesting one. We were talking about it before the show. I guess if you're in Bigin and you wanted to send a mass email out to your contacts, you could send 300 per day in the Premier Edition and 150 emails per day in the Enterprise Edition. I haven't looked at this yet, but I don't know which of these versions lives inside Zoho 1. But either way, that's really a minor amount of emails. In the CRM, you can do 1,000 a day in the Enterprise Edition, correct?
Yep, up to 1,000.
Yeah, up to 1,000. But with the new enhancement, you can do up to 5,000 emails per day. The mass email, and basically it's $3 per unit. 1 unit equals 100 emails. You can buy 50 units, which gives you 5,000 emails plus the 300 you get free, which gets you 5,300 emails a day. The question is that it says here 100 emails per year. So if I buy this, can I send 5,300 emails a day per year?
Per 100 per year. So 36 per 100 per year is 3 per month per 100 per day. $3 per month per 100 emails per day. That is a lot of pers in there.
But
that seems like that's how it breaks down.
I think, and I would love if we could get some clarification. I think if I was to actually spend, so hang on, so it's $3 per 100. So they're multiplied by 12. So it's per month.
Yep, $3 per month for each 100 per day.
So they get creative. If I wanted the 50, then I'm gonna be spending $1,800
per year.
50 times 36.
Yeah, per year.
$1,800 a year to send 5,300 emails a day. That's not bad.
That's not too bad. Yeah,
but since Bigin works with campaigns, you get just do that. Send them out
makes more sense. Yeah, most of the time that's going to make more sense.
I think if you're sending this many, you should probably do that. All right, that's it. And now you've just some other things. You've got powered by Bigin label and forms. Everybody wants that. Everybody wants to show the Bigin brand.
Yeah, that's value for the end user there.
Attach record files and email composer. Very, very nice. You can now attach files or record. What's a record? Oh, you can attach. What is a record file? I'm confused. All right, let's see. Send email. Attach file. Attach from this record. Oh, that's cool. That's really cool. So if you've got a attachment that is sitting in a record and you're sending an email, one of the things you could do when you send the email is attach the attachment that's in the record. Well, I want that in the CRM. Yes, I do. CRM right now. Very cool. All right, that's a nice little update right there. 10 megabytes is the maximum. So small little files. All right, new API credits dashboard. Chart. View for storage. Can track storage. Man, Bigin is just going crazy. So many updates in Bigin. Anyway, there you go. For all you Bigin users out there, that's your updates. And moving right along. You got enhancements to campaigns in MarketingPlus. So, Tyler, you say MarketingPlus is CRM Plus without the CRM, pretty much?
Yeah, it's like a bundle product, right? It has Brand Studio, which I think is unique to MarketingPlus. It's not marketing automation. That's its own separate app that is allegedly going to end up baking in a lot of the apps that are a part of MarketingPlus. It's an odd one. We haven't seen a ton of adoption of MarketingPlus. A lot of, for us, it's Zoho One or CRM Plus. But yeah, so it includes most of the marketing suite, but no CRM, right? So campaigns, analytics, Backstage, marketing automation, PageSense. No Sales IQ, which is another weird one. Feels like it probably should be in there, but I guess maybe you call Sales IQ more of a sales tool than a marketing tool. I think it's both. But yeah, interesting product. It's missing one or two things that I think a lot of people would probably see as like need to have in the Zoho sphere, like CRM, for example.
Yeah. Well, they've got, by the way, if you were watching us on YouTube, you notice in order for me to find out what was going on and what's in each bundle, we actually go to our own website where we track all this under resources and bundles because it just makes life so much easier. So if you go to resources and bundles, because when you go to the Zoho site, it's very, very hard to figure out what apps are in what
exactly is in this bundle.
I know. It's just brutal. So anyway, that's the... there you go. So, all right. So basically back to MarketingPlus here that they've revamped some roles and privileges. So that is the big update here. A lot of really getting very granular on roles and privileges as it relates to the campaigns module in MarketingPlus and some brand administration and who can handle those things all around campaigns. So I guess if you look at the new update, all the new things going on in campaigns, kind of these granular permissions might make a lot of sense. Permissions are something that needs to be rethought in campaigns anyway, but they've been changing them a lot, right? Because it used to be you went in and you'd only see your stuff and you'd have to say, let me see everybody's stuff, but you didn't own that thing. Even if you're an admin, didn't matter.
It's still a lot that way. That crazy thing when you open like the mailing list, it defaults to only showing you the ones you created. There's also some issues with like multi-tenant or multi-users affecting like syncs and integrations, even if everyone's an admin, right? Whereas like if I go into CRM, right, and I set up the desk integration, you as a fellow admin can just go in and change anything about the desk integration. Campaigns, whoever sets it up is like the only person with the full permission to like do things with it, which when you have a big marketing
I thought a few weeks ago, Tyler, that there was a change to that.
Unless I was out. Maybe it was one of the weeks I was out, but I don't think it's too different than it used to be.
All right, I'm going to have to revisit that here. Anyway, nice job for you MarketingPlus users out there. I'm assuming this is going to be for anybody. I'm assuming if you got Zoho One, this is there too. But the MarketingPlus team is the first to make the announcement. All righty then, moving right on. I put this in because, Zoho Bookings has always been on our no list. It's just, we want this app to get up to Calendly and Acuity scheduling. And oftentimes I'm doing calls with people that are like, why don't you like Zoho Bookings? Because, well, It's like missing a million key features. There are so many features that is missing. They're too numerous to even name, but then I do name them. But this was one I'd never named because I just assumed it had to be there. But guess what? Now, when you set up a booking, you can invite additional people to it. So that, my friends, is why, you just never know. You get Zoho bookings. You just assume there's some basic stuff that's going to be there, and it's not. So all knocks aside here, they're getting there slowly but surely. It's there. And hey, look,
the need to have, right? I mean, like if I look at my calendar this week, at least 1 in 3 of my meetings with prospects or clients, they've added someone on their team when they booked it, right? And so what you think about it, this isn't just like a customer facing thing. Like it's always nice to give customers more options to self-serve and like add those people. It also reduces work, right? Because if they can't do it, they're going to email me and then I have to go in and do it, which obviously doesn't take that much time. I'm always happy to do it. But if I can just give them the option, save me 1 email in my inbox, absolutely. Right. So it's a need to have. Good job to bookings, but got a lot more on the list there.
Here you go. And moving right along, Tyler and I debated whether to leave this story in. We went back and forth. Zoho Recruit now has candidate submissions made simple. There's the submission submodule stores candidate submissions made to client contacts as records along with other key details. So now you can have submissions submodules. You think you figured it out. What is it?
I think I cracked the code on this one. So they don't explicitly say it, but this seems like something that would really only make sense in the agency edition because you're submitting to a client. I couldn't see anything on here that actually calls that out, but I'm going to make that assumption. Really, this is the idea of like, let's say I'm a recruiting firm. You're one of my clients. I go through my interview process with a candidate for one of the jobs that you have me recruiting for. Once I feel good about them, I submit them to you, right, for your review for that particular role. And it's a different module because you could do it multiple times. Like maybe I submit them 6 months ago. You're like, no. They reapply now and you're like, oh, wow, like they've really grown their skill set. Let's do it. So it seems like it's a way where you would be passing them to your client for their review and approval for that job. Which if you're using the agency edition, I'd imagine this is like a great feature for you because I don't know how you would have done it before unless you're just kind of emailing them or like sending them a report or something like that. Really nice to have. Again, I think it's only for agency. It might be in the normal one in the case where I'm like, maybe I'm the recruiting team for Zenatta and you're in charge of that work group and so I'm submitting them to you or could be something like that. But
I'll tell you where it's got to become. I'll tell you where to me it works. It's right here. Client submissions, Avon Products Inc. and Phoenix, right? So and you don't get that. You'll only get that in the agency edition, right?
Yeah. And the pre-baked status is approved by client, submitted to client. So it does look that way.
Nice job, Zoho Recruit team. Rock and roll. And now over in, we now have enhanced business productivity with automatic pre-filled form generation in Zoho Writer. So we've covered this before. You actually can send a link to a Zoho Writer document that people then can fill out and save. This is a very, very long blog saying you now can submit a link to a Zoho Writer document that people can fill out and save, and it can pre-fill in a bunch of forms on the Zoho Writer document. That's it. And they've got some nice examples of how that works and what happens. And you would now have the ability, they also can save a document and come back to it later. So there's some really, really cool stuff around this.
Yeah, so it's like that for longer documents. Like I know an implementation of the week a couple weeks ago was kind of using part of this where they're filling a bunch of things out and we're writing back to CRM. But that was a long document, right? Like there could be 15 contacts that they need to add to a table in that doc. They might not do it all at once. So honestly, like the save and resume is almost the most impactful feature here for those types of docs that just like, hey, it could take 30 minutes to get through this thing. So yeah, that's I would say the main takeaway for this one.
It's very, very, very cool. So, I like the overall thing is is good. So this is a nice feature. It's been in, Writer for quite a while. The Writer, for those of you not familiar with Zoho Writer, there's just so much going on with that. I mean, from a word processing standpoint, I love it. You have to get used to the interface. The interface is a little different. It doesn't do the old top bar that virtually every single word processor does. It does a big sidebar, and it does a lot of contextual floating formatting bars.
My biggest, still to this day, I've grown on it. It's grown on me over time. I've come around on Writer. If you watch early episodes of our show, it used to be a point of debate that I used to hate it, and you were a big fan. The one thing I still can't do in there is when you're in a bulleted list and you hit tab and it indents, but it doesn't move the bullet. So you have to use Command M on a Mac. And I just use Command M.
Hang on. You have to do what?
Command M.
Yeah. I always actually go over to the actual control panel and hit the indent. Hang on. Command M will do it?
That'll indent your bulleted list in Writer.
Rather than tab.
Why not tab? Who knows? Tab just indents in that same bullet, just moves the text over. Yeah, Command M will bump it over.
I'll be darned.
So I just changed your life for the better. Oh.
Yeah. You know what I learned the other day? I'm not sure I'm going to get this right, but I believe it's Command-Shift-E centers text. Command-Shift-R right justifies text. I don't know. I think E was the center one. Very straight. Anyway, there you go. All right, cool stuff. Anyway, good job, Writer team, and moving right along with the news. All right, we've got Financial Suite updates. There are a whole bunch of these. If you get our newsletter or you go check out the show doc, there's every time the Financial Suite is updated, all the Financial Suite apps get an update. I've left several of them out because the updates that were in them were the same that are in the big ones, which is basically we're going to talk about Zoho Books and I think Zoho Expense today. But subscriptions got all of these, Invoice got all of these. It's all the same. The big one is there's a PayPal integration update. And with this new update, you have the ability to accept payments through Venmo and PayPal's Buy Now, Pay Later feature, if in fact you're eligible for the Buy Now, Pay Later feature and you've got good credit with PayPal. But the Venmo's cool. I like that a lot. I haven't seen that on PayPal where it says pay through Venmo. I want to link my account to that, Yeah.
Honestly, the Buy Now, Pay Later is kind of interesting too, because it's one thing that's become more and more popular in terms of buyer preference, right? You have Synchronicity or Synchrony for in-store payments. Then you have Klarna and Affirm, a million options for online, basically pay 0% interest payments over time. But none of those, to my knowledge, have been supported in Zoho yet. So this would be kind of the first if you wanted to do that. And the way most of these work, I don't know about PayPal, but I know from back in my bike retail days that you as the seller actually get the money up front and the bank or the PayPal takes the risk of collections. So oftentimes you'll pay a little more. You'll pay a 3.5 or a 4%, but it might be a sale you wouldn't have been able to make if that customer doesn't have the cash to in our case, buy a bike for a couple grand. So kind of interesting. Opens up some doors there. I'd like to see even more of those options just because even though a lot of this use case might be B2B for Zoho Books invoices, businesses like payment terms too, it's not the worst thing if it can get implemented a little more widely.
Absolutely. All righty. And then if you live in Australia, you can verify your customer's ABN, which is your Australian business number. So that's now built in. Very cool for you. And they've got some new payment methods in Stripe. So if you're using Stripe, which, we do, everybody does, you can now accept payments from GiroPay, Bancontact, and so forth. Never heard of any of them, but they're there. And it's in all editions. So evidently they are accepted everywhere. And if you are in Canada, they've got some new tax return settings. You'll want to check those out. And that's kind of it for the updates, isn't it? We talked about this one. So now you have custom modules in Zoho Books, and I didn't know you had custom modules in Zoho Books, and I still don't know what you would do with a custom module, but you now can set the primary field, which means the name Is that what we're talking about?
Yeah, so I mean, really, it was essentially like when you made the custom module, the like name was set up as an auto number automatically. Like SO1234, SO1235 for sales orders. It would do a similar thing for your custom modules. Now you can define if you want to give each one a name or if it should be like auto-generated. This makes a lot of sense because while this is still better done inside of CRM, some people will use these custom modules for tracking serial numbers that have been sold. And in that case, it really makes sense for the record name just to be a text field that has the serial number, right? Like then you just see it, you click it, that's the link. So yeah, nice one to have. We don't have a ton of use case for this. Honestly, like most of our customers that are using books and inventory have CRM. So if we need to kick like a record after the sale to manage like a workflow or like future service requests, like we're going to do that in CRM. And writing code that creates a custom module in books versus CRM is basically the same, right? Like at the end of the day, you get the data, you put the data. So it's cool. We haven't had a ton of use cases for the custom modules yet, but if we did, I would sure love to be able to name them how I like. So yeah, nice update for those.
All right, and moving right along, Zoho Expense. So a couple of things in Zoho Expense that I will cover here real quickly. You can now set effective date for policy rules. So you're putting in a new rule. You can say this is when it's going to take effect, and this is how it's going to work. So that's very nice. And you can view the actual amounts spent while editing budgets. This is an early access feature, but to me, this is the big one and the coolest one where you can say, gosh, I want to set some budgets up, but why don't I go back and I look and see what we really did? So maybe that'll give me a better idea of what these budgets should be. So you can see actual to budget and then go ahead and maybe change some other stuff. So very cool. And then Tyler, in the world of development, I would say that I guess one of the biggest applications out there for mobile development is in fact, what's it called? Give me a name here. Flutter.
Yeah, very popular. Yeah, popular kind of development suite for mobile apps. The SDK and the ASAP thing here for Desk is essentially the little help widget. So if you want to put the little pop-up bubble, right, they can do chat, it can do knowledge base, it can do some of those things, and you want it just natively in your app. This is how you do that. So supporting it for Flutter, like there's a chart in here that shows like the distribution of which apps are, the percent of apps created using various frameworks. And like Flutter is, at a quick glance, pretty much the biggest. I mean, React Native has kind of trended down and Flutter has seemingly eaten its lunch a little bit as the preferred option. So yeah, shout out to Zoho. Like that's a big one. You want to stay on top of these types of trends. If you have an SDK, it only is useful if it works in, the framework that your users are using. So given that that's near 50% of the market as of last year, totally good call, right? Building this for supporting Flutter.
So you can now, if you're using Desk and you want to build some of the Desk features into Flutter, it's knowledge base, community, tickets, and live chat. Those can be built into your Flutter app.
ASAP widget's such a good idea, man. It's such a good idea because you could put it on the website, you put it in the app, and it does so much, right? Like if you're going to chat, hey, could we suggest a knowledge base article first? Save us the time and effort. It's a really nice tool.
Shout out to the Zoho Desk team. All right, and we're going to wrap up the news with just a couple shout outs to some other Zoho teams. Zoho Vault was recognized as a challenger and fast mover in the 2023 GigaOM radar for password management. GigaOM is a tech journal, tech website, and they gave basically they're a challenger and fast mover, and Zoho Vault is all of those things. I love the application. I use it on a personal level. It has, every time I think, oh, wow, it's not going to do this feature, it does two-factor authentication now. It automatically does. It just does everything. The new overhaul that they gave to it is great. All around great app. Congratulations to the Zoho Vault team by being recognized in GigaOM. And then we want to give a shout out to the Backstage team. It's 5 years of Backstage. Boy, it's gone by so quickly, Tyler. I remember when you were changing diapers on Backstage, and I'd have to work late.
Little hair on top of its head.
Yeah, I know. Now, look at it. It's all grown up. Backstage is Zoho's event management planning software, and it is excellent. It is a very, very good. It kind of had a little little tough time there because it's 5 years old and it spent 2.5 to 3 years of its life in COVID, which kind of changed events all the way around. But that being said, that forced them to really up their virtual events and their blended events game. So it really helped a lot of the development that went on with Backstage. So it's been a good 5 years for them.
Yeah, great application. It is available in Zoho 1. There are some limits. So if you're using it full scale, you will need to pay a little more. They charge by the event or per attendee, a couple different ways there, but really good application. And most of the time when you actually price it out versus using like Eventbrite, you're going to be better off on Backstage. So well worth a look if you are a Zoho user. I mean, there was a stretch there, not as much this year. I feel like a lot through last year and 2021 where it was like every week this was getting an update, like meaningful updates. Like 1 week is like an entire badge design and printing mechanism. The next is a whole portal for exhibitors. It's like they put a lot of work into this because they do use it, right, internally for their own events. So well worth taking a look at if this is something that you do.
I mean, it's a brilliant app. I mean, it's so brilliant. It's 5 and it's already in 3rd grade. So just tell you what's going on with it there. And with that, let's get on over to the implementation of the week.
Alrighty, so this implementation was built out by Lucas, one of our consultants here at Zenatta. So this is automated QR code generation for trade show specific lead forms. It's a mouthful, but it's actually functionally, pretty straightforward what we're looking to do here. Essentially, there's a client that, goes to many different trade shows and wants a way to generate leads and know that those leads came from those trade shows. As you know, or, if people aren't familiar with kind of how the marketing space works around trade shows, you really want to make sure it's worth going, right? You might have different trade shows run by different groups that serve different customers, and some of them might be driving great leads for you, some of them might not. So it's really important if you're going to pony up, flights, hotels, meals, the expense of going to one, that you're getting good leads from it. And so in this case, the real goal here was to make it so that someone can walk up to the booth, scan a QR code, fill out a quick form, and then we know they're a lead from this particular trade show. So what we did, essentially, build out a lead capture form inside a Zoho Creator. We use Creator because there are a couple little custom things we wanted to do while the user was filling it out that we couldn't do inside of Zoho Forms. But you could do a very similar thing here with Zoho Forms. The Creator was kind of unique to this very specific use case. Then we set up a module in CRM where the client can load trade shows that they're going to do and provide which lead source they would like for that particular trade show. Example being, maybe you have a certain type of trade show that happens once a quarter and you want all the leads to come in as one lead source. So you know if that quarterly tradition is worth it. Next, in that trade show module, create a custom button where once they fill out which lead source they want, the name of the trade show, kind of the relevant information, they can press a button, a script will run that will use a third-party API to create a QR code that points to that lead capture form, but pre-fills information specific to that trade show. So essentially, each trade show automatically gets its own QR code. Then we store that QR code as the record image, so it's just easy to find. We could really store it anywhere if you want it in Work Drive, record image, file upload field, In this case, the image was just the easiest place for the customer to always know where to look, right? Top left, click there, boom, QR code. Then once that user submits the form, they're created as a lead. They've got the proper lead source. They can even be connected to that trade show record if you want to attribute that directly with a lookup field. And the rest of the process can be tracked, knowing that a particular lead came through that individual trade show. So really nice one here. I mean, at the end of the day, there's a lot of different paths you could take to get this done. Again, you don't inherently need to do this with Creator. It's kind of unique for this client, but pretty straightforward path to create a variety of QR codes, all dynamically, automatically, that point you to very specific forms to land on.
Wow. That is a very, very nice implementation. Is this what happens when a developer becomes a consultant? They just go crazy. They do it all themselves.
Pretty much.
They visualize it, create it. It all happens there. Nice job, Lucas and your invisible friend. Very, very good. And with that, guys, let's head on over to Club Z and see what Greg's got for us in a code share. All right, this is COQL in Zoho Flow. I'll kind of read here the first paragraph or so. We never stop raving about the beauty of COQL queries. They make searching CRM records via API much easier and more customizable. Unfortunately, Zoho Flow does not have a trigger for running a COQL query. But not to worry! There's a solution, and we're going to hard code a connection in Flow that lets us make COQL queries trigger standalone functions whenever we want. What has Greg done here? What kind of voodoo has Greg done? What has happened to Tyler?
Yeah, this is a nice one. I honestly didn't know this was even in the cards until I read through this. So what Greg's talking about is Flow is a tool very similar to Zapier. It has a bunch of pre-baked connections to do things where you don't need to write any code, but you can also write code inside of it to do custom actions, things that aren't supported by just like a drag and drop, create lead box into your flowchart. But in that deluge code, you're limited in which scopes you can use, which like API options are available to you based on the ones that are natively supported in Flow. So if there isn't a Flow action to do a COQL query, you can't do one in your code using a Flow connection. And so really what Greg is showing here is that while you can't fix that about Flow, you could just go to the API console, make your own self-client, and then invoke that in the Flow deluge code and get what you want. He does this specifically for COQL, but I would imagine, and maybe we'll leave a comment if this is wrong, but really you would be able to do this for any scope that's not supported by Zoho Flow, right? So let's say, like he's mentioning, you can't trigger a standalone function, right? Because that's its own scope, but like we use those all the time. So you could just add your scope, do it yourself, and, opens up a lot of doors to what the deluge code inside of Flow can do. And that's pretty big. Flow is used a ton as a place for us to catch webhooks. So if we have a third-party app we need to integrate to, really easy for them to send data to Flow, and then we can process it in code. So this opens a lot of doors to what we can then do with that data.
Excellent. I know I discussed it before, but please check out Club Zenatta. We would love to have you join us. By the way, I think we every 100 members here. Yes, we actually hit over 800 members, and Angel technically got its wing. We didn't announce it. We're 30 in, but got some Angel wings. We have not announced this. We had a big change to this. We were up to like 600 members, 700 members, and then we completely revamped the entire platform. And when we revamped the platform, we went down to like 400 members, and now we're creeping our way back up. So technically, come join all these pretty people and talk to us about join the Zoho community over at club.zenatta.com. And great job there, Greg. And with that, let's head over to zenatta.com and see what we got going on over there. Well, this is a twofer, Tyler. So basically, the article is on integrating Google Workspace, formerly Google Suite, G Suite, with Zoho CRM. And this is basically your kind of a write-up of your tip of the week, which was just released yesterday or today, which is your fun little walkthrough of how to integrate Gmail with Zoho CRM. And so what marketing team's done here, Wayne in particular, has gone through and kind of got a step-by-step guide, a write-up of what you have done. So if you're one of those that's really into reading rather than watching, this is for you. But then you miss out on all the fun that Tyler brings in his 19-minute tutorial.
Yeah, this is one we've been kind of meaning to make for a while, right? We get asked it a lot of, how do all these different Google apps plug in? And I really dislike using Office 365, but I might do. If people ask nicely, maybe I will do another version of this for 365. Spin up a business account for a day and just, go through it. I really dislike that product. So yeah, I thought we would kind of get this done for you guys. We get asked a lot. Snuck in the Google Drive integration as well, even though it's technically a plugin, but it's still built by Zoho. So I thought, hey, let's go through that too. So yeah, hopefully a useful video, kind of carved up into parts. So going through calendar, mail, contacts, and like why contacts, like why would you sync those? And then Google Drive, kind of highlighted a couple things there.
That's fantastic. I mean, it's if you head over to our YouTube channel, you will see all of our videos. And by the way, yet another angel got his wing. We hit 12,000 subscribers this week, which is up.
Look at that.
Double angels. And please do like, if you like this video, please hit that like button. It means a lot to us. And go ahead and subscribe. It's well worth it. Yeah, it looks like you did break this into some nice segments here. So very, very, very good stuff across the board. But man, our YouTube channel is where we make it happen. We're up to almost a video a day. It seems like
just about, yeah.
More. It's just a lot of videos flying out here. So stop by youtube.com/Zenatta, like, subscribe, and learn. And well, Tyler, with that, oh my goodness, a long show.
A long one.
A very long one. A lot of news this week. We want to thank everybody for stopping by, watching the show. And if you'd like to get in touch with Tyler or myself, please head over to Zenatta.com and click on Book a Meeting. We'd love to chat with you.
And on the website is where you'll find complete episodes of the show, as well as links to all the stories we discussed today. We'd love and appreciate if you would like and subscribe here on YouTube, as well as your choice of podcast app. We'll see you next Friday.
Take care, everybody.